Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I'm joined by some new faces. We have Dave Scammell.
Hello.
As usual, but we also have Chris Bratz.
Hi there.
And our brand new editor, Simon Miller.
Yo.
Who?
It's a brand new editor.
Who are these people?
We just walked in off the street. But now we're here, we're not going to go anywhere.
You're not going to mug me, are you?
We need a sense.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Just give them your wallet, Dave, and nothing can go wrong. No, it's a
That's
new
why-
starter, so yeah.
I was going to say, that's why we told you to wear your coat, Dave.
Yeah.
Because we knew your wallet would be in it, and we're going to beat the snot out of you.
Yeah, if you could just the cash, and then we'll walk you to a cash machine.
Not my scarf, please.
Yeah, of course.
It's too cold.
It is really cold in the podcast room today, actually. Yeah. Super cold. So we'll have some kind of introductory questions from you guys at the end of the podcast. But as a brief introduction, do you guys want to... Simon, you're the new editor?
I am. Isn't that nice?
It is lovely.
I'm privileged and proud to be here. And now I get to go on a podcast as well. I get to do it all. What a fabulous first 2 days. No, I mean, I don't know if anybody has seen the website. I assume you have, because if you listen to the podcast and don't go to the website, you're doing it wrong. Try and switch that around. But yeah, I've been in video games a while. I've done the whole journalism thing. I did a bit of PR. More of that can be found on the website, but it's basically because I love pro wrestling.
Yeah,
and now I'm back to this, and I'm happy and I'm proud and I'm excited to be part of the Video Gamer team. Don't cry. I know that was a beautiful speech.
I am welling up inside.
I am
if
too.
not on the outside. and Chris, obviously you're quite new. You've done your YouTube stuff, and I've brought you in to help me with the video stuff.
Very new indeed. Yeah, I've did journalism at university and saw a Twitter post off Matt, actually. This is how it all started. And yeah, absolutely thrilled to be here.
Yeah, well, it should be cool. Well, let's just jump straight in. I mean, what have you guys been playing?
I've been playing BioShock.
I've been playing BioShock as well,
I've been playing
actually.
BioShock.
Everyone's playing
Anybody
BioShock.
else playing BioShock?
And yeah, I just don't know what is happening in this game.
Have you finished it yet?
I have finished it, but we won't talk about
We won't talk about that. We have
obviously.
been weighing up the idea of doing a special kind of podcast, actually, just to talk about the plot.
The spoiler podcast.
Take the
Spoiler
safety
cast.
catch off the spoilers.
Yeah.
And
just go
but what are
mental.
your thoughts, Dave, having finished it?
I don't think it's as good as everyone says it
No,
is.
I'm
I think it's
in that
great.
boat as well. I think it's great. And I think that's the important thing, is you have to temper that. I am probably going to make a video explaining why I don't think it's that great sometime this week, but it is important to say that is only in the context of the fact that it's been getting so many 10s out of 10s.
Guys, can we stop this? I haven't played BioShock Infinite yet. The move has meant that I'm a couple of weeks behind. I was under the impression that it was going to be great and that I was going to have tears streaming from my eyes.
Well,
Do you know what?
if you eat an onion while you're playing it...
I found myself in a similar situation to I was in Far Cry 3, but at the same time, the complete reverse. So Far Cry 3, yeah. No, listen, hear me out. Far Cry 3, amazing scores, 10 out of 10, etc., etc., etc. And I was expecting a great narrative with the whole insanity thing. Didn't get it. Instead, you got good gameplay and good bit of variety, open world stuff, etc. Really good.
Yeah.
BioShock, other way around. Gameplay is a little bit weak. The actual shooting, a little bit weak.
I mean, that a lot of my faults I have are actually with just the actual mechanics of the game,
Yeah,
and how
exactly.
it works as a game and progresses. A lot of it is just really guff,
Yeah.
Especially because it's just like the combat.
Guff's a bit harsh.
No, it
Guff's
is.
a bit
It is.
harsh.
Design-wise, I think it's very poor. I think mechanically, the polish is quite nice, but I think the core design of what they've put out there is just not being thought about very much. It feels like the vigors don't feel very good. I mean, they're all really fun, but they're all like, hey, this is fun, isn't it? You'll have fun with this. Whereas what I really liked about BioShock was it felt like the combat, the powers, the enemies all fit together really nicely.
Yeah.
And especially, you think about the way you used to engage with the big daddies in BioShock. It was this thing, if you'd see them,
Terrifying.
yeah, they wouldn't attack you, but then also you'd have all these abilities to do this stuff. You would have the time to scope out the environment, and you really would have a battle plan where you think, I'll use this on this and this on this. Whereas the amount of people I've spoken to with BioShock Infinite where they say, I pretty much just use these two powers for the whole game. It's because it feels like they're not linked to the enemy designs in any way. And I feel like it's great fun when you're fighting just standard guys with guns.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start fighting any of the special enemies, it just becomes really tiresome because it doesn't feel like there's any good tactics. It's just like they're just bullet sponges.
I mean, Irrational clearly can't do bosses at all.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a bit in the middle, towards the middle of Infinite, where I have a boss fight, which is just like, it can just fuck off. Like, it's like they. After all this stuff with like going, you shouldn't have put a boss fight at the end of BioShock.
Well, they do tweak it a bit, though, to be fair to them.
Yeah.
I think I won't say too much, but I think they've taken the criticism on to some extent.
Yeah.
But I know the bit you're talking about.
How did that get in?
And I do agree. I almost thought about smashing my television.
Yeah.
But I do also want to point out, I'm not playing devil's advocate. I think I fall more on the amazing side than you guys. I agree with your points. I agree with your points about gameplay. A lot of the time I was shooting people going, I don't need to shoot anybody else. I
Yeah.
think I'm actually actually done with shooting people. In fact, get rid of the enemies. Just let me walk through your world.
Yeah.
But kind of what you said, Dave, because the story is so good and because of everything that happens at the end and sort of post experience, I'll say, for lack of a better term, that won me over to the point where Far Cry story is not good enough, but the gameplay wins you over.
Yeah.
The gameplay, I think, holds up well enough
Yeah.
to allow me to enjoy the story, which I thought was fantastic. Therefore,
Yeah.
I come away thinking that was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it. And that's why, for all its flaws, and it's not a perfect game, I would still give it a high score simply because I left that game and I read. And I read and I read.
Absolutely.
And I text and I twittered and I thought I have to absorb as much of this game as I possibly can. I never do that with any game. I love Tomb Raider, but I didn't go on any forum and say, oh, let's talk about the significance of Lara. Yeah. No, I'm not doing that. So for that reason alone, a lot of people call it pretentious, and maybe to some extent it is, but that's fine. Not a lot of games are pretentious. So if you want to be a little bit pretentious, go ahead.
Well, that's it. I think I don't want to put people off from doing this sort of thing because I think it is...
That's it.
What it does is genuinely, for a AAA game of that budget, like I can't imagine Call of Duty dealing with those kind of things.
No, and I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, it deserves any kind of criticism people want to give to it, but let's not push it too far to the point where all we get is Call of Duty. Because Call of Duty is great, and I love Call of Duty to a certain extent. But I think at the same time, I want to make sure people enjoy BioShock for what it is, rather than put it down for what it's not.
I think my main problems with it was the fact that BioShock, the original, was always remembered for its twist, right?
Yeah.
And that was what kind of made it iconic. And the fact they had this commentary on the nature of game design and the director role. But what I loved about it, and actually what I think got really underneath your skin, was Rapture's a place. And Rapture's... it made sense, I think Sander Cohen, the character from BioShock, was more memorable than any of the characters in Infinite.
I agree.
Because what I loved about BioShock was the characters fit into the place and the world felt real. Because it asked you a question of going, what happens if you have great minds that are untapped from the shackles of morality? And that's a fascinating question. And that went away with me and that got me thinking so much more. But I like what they do in Infinite. But it's not really a story that you can relate to, It's kind of a bit... No, it's not. It's not something that makes you think about the world in a different way. It's just something that blows your mind. And I think it's a shame because they do, in the early stages of Infinite, they bring up themes of kind of, religion and racism, and then they just sort of like...
It doesn't really go anywhere.
It doesn't go anywhere. They raise them, but it feels like it's set dressing. It feels like they're just going... They're basically going, this is Colombia. Who lives here? Jovial racists. Moving on.
Yeah.
And it feels very weirdly two-dimensional because a lot of the complaints about BioShock was it felt like they copped out by having you explore a world that had already died and letting you look through a kind of a corpse of an environment to see what it was before. And a lot of people didn't like that. But then in Colombia, it shows you what it's like before bad things happen. And it doesn't feel very real.
I agree. And I think it must have been a difficult decision because if you are setting your world in that time era, and even though you're in the sky, it's still within a certain world. You are going to encounter racism and things like that. And I think because I deliberately, as much as I could, tried to stay away from anything pre-BioShock Infinite because I thought it would just ruin it. So when I saw all that stuff, I thought, damn, the games don't deal with that. Like, what a great... This is mature gaming. Don't forget, I blowed your head off. It's mature. This is mature gaming because you're dealing with themes that I'm not necessarily comfortable with you dealing with. But you're right, it does then take a right turn. But I guess if they're using that setting and they don't deal with that, a lot of people go, why didn't you deal with that? But if they do deal with it, I guess that has to be the dominating theme almost, because you can't treat that with racism. So I think that's difficult, but I do agree they could have done more with it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And I think, I wonder... It does feel like a game that's perhaps had a bit of a troubled development, but maybe one that's been hidden by layers of sheen. Because it does feel like when I stand back and look at all the different elements of the game and all the different sections, there's something a bit like disjointed about it. And I wonder why. Like a lot of the stuff they demoed with Elizabeth just now isn't in the game.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff, in fact, a lot of the stuff they talked about, because I wrote a lot of previews for the game in the early stages, and it's just plain not there. And a lot of the stuff they said is plain not true. And I was talking about somebody like this in the pub last night, and they said, yeah, but the problem is, Matt, a lot of these things, that the reason you're disappointed with Infinite is because player expectations. We all expected it to be this majestic, amazing game. And I think that's true. However, there are things that they said to sell the game and promote the game, which have ended up not being true at all.
I'm still in the mindset that, we've talked about this before, that, with Elizabeth, I'm still thinking she's going to be like in those previews. What's she like? What's her role as a companion?
Well, she's basically a tool, and not. I don't mean like.
She's a massive tool.
No, she's a great.
Like Elizabeth.
Yeah, she's a great character. Actually, the voice acting's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm kind of in love with her, but we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, she is awesome, but it's just effectively the way she affects the gameplay is that she's
an ammo drop.
She's an ammo drop. She's like a supply drop. She chucks you stuff.
She is, but it's still done nicer than that though, because all that kind of stuff I did tend to rely on her. So there are sections when you're not with her, for example, I was like, I do feel a bit naked, for lack of a better term. I feel like I'm a bit more, threatened than I would have been when she's here. Although she does serve as almost like a multiplayer co-op buddy. I like the fact she gave me ammo. I love when she gave me a coin. I thought, cheers, love.
Yeah, but she does that about 800 times.
And where did she get them from?
Yeah, it's weird.
I picked up all those coins.
I find it really odd that she spends all this time, right, going around picking up coins, health pack, ammo, and like mana, basically. But the one thing she doesn't pick up are lockpicks, which is the one thing that she actually needs.
But she tells you where they are.
Yeah, she's like, it's over there. I'm like, why don't you pick it up then? Because you pick up everything else.
Sometimes a lady likes a bit of chivalry. Pick up that lockpick for me, please, Booker.
I suppose so. But it's the fact that I remember when there was a kind of preview stage last year, I think, and they said basically the way that Elizabeth would work in a battle is you'd have a scenario and you'd have maybe 3 things you can change. And her energy can only maintain like one of them, because it's like the idea then was that her using this would somehow be exhausting her, and that you'd have to choose carefully what you wanted to bring in. And the example they gave was that there was this fight where you can either bring in an air train, which would come from another dimension and knock loads of people off an edge, or you can bring in a storm cloud that you can use to cast your electricity on it to turn the storm cloud into a big thing. Or you can actually bring in a door from another universe, which you can open to make an escape route.
That's what I was hoping was still the case.
No, it's just none of that.
Did
is
they promise
in the game.
all that? Did they?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was what they told. That was what they showed. I think they showed people that
they did, and I feel like I'm becoming the Infinite Defense Force. But they did. But at the same time, that was a year ago.
Yeah,
maybe?
I know.
And don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They should come out and say, look, we've had to change some stuff. I think we all agree there was something happening in development because a lot of people left and a lot of people were drafted in.
It was just such a substantial change.
I totally agree, and it should have been there, or they should come out and say it. But I think that is the one thing where games are still struggling with. They do make these development decisions, then go, "Oh, we're going to do this. This is impossible." They have to change it. They don't tell you that. They'll then release a new gameplay trailer or whatever, but it doesn't tell you what's gone. It just tells you what's new, and then you're like, okay. Yeah. So, but I think what Elizabeth does do is cool. You're totally right. That would have been, especially from a gameplay point of view, that would have been 1,000 times better.
Well, it just becomes this thing of like in every area you can have like
a hook,
a gun turret, or a hook, and you just have a gun turret. It's something. It's the same thing with the whole idea of these infinite universes that she can pull stuff in from, apparently, and yet it seems like in a universe of infinite possibilities, everything just ends up being like the same. Like you can have a gun turret or a hook.
If you had done that in a really deep voice, that would have been like a movie trailer quote.
In a world of infinite possibilities, it's basically just shipping hooks.
It's true, and I never used it. I mean, go back to your point with the Vigors as well. I forgot sometimes I had Vigors. I just shot people.
Yep.
I mean, that may be a slight on me. It may be a slight on the game.
And I mean, who actually brought in cover? Like
not once. It was always
I brought it
gun
in once,
turret.
but never used it.
Gun turret, health packs, or hooks. If I just wanted to use my little hook thing,
it was fun. But it just felt like what I'm trying to say, I guess, is I think that it's a game that's so ambitious and it tries to do so many things, both thematically and in terms of actual physical things in the game. Yeah. But I feel like they spread themselves too thin. And I think what they managed to put out was very polished and well-rounded. But I just feel like they clearly went, look, we can't do this stuff. We can't do the storm clouds, all these unique things for Elizabeth. But I sort of wish that they had. And I think that they perhaps put too much focus on this big story twist thing that everyone seems to have fallen in love with. And actually, I'm just annoyed because I think there was so much potential for it to be maybe not a kind of like, wow, Pazam sort of game, but just to be a really good game.
Yeah.
Especially with the 1999 mode, which they talked about from ages ago, of going, hey, we want to make it like System Shock 2, of that thing of having to make decisions that really matter to your character. That ends up being basically a super, super hard mode for idiots because none of the upgrades you get in the game change the game. It's like, there's no specialization. It's not like in System Shock 2 where you think, if I get this skill and this weapon, I can use them together to do this, or I can specialize in hacking. It's basically like, hey, do you want to do more damage with that gun? Or do you want, hey, that fire is pretty cool. Do you want to do More fire? Like,
Do you know? I didn't even know. And again, I don't know who's to blame here. I didn't even know you could combine them. Do you know you could combine vigors in that game?
yeah,
I
I
had
mean,
no
why would
clue.
you? Why would you?
Well, I should at least know. I mean, that's pretty bad. Like,
I
I should
know,
at least
yeah.
figured that out.
I figured it out towards the end, but the problem is, why would you? Because basically, the guns are really powerful, and you can just use one vigor and some headshots, and that will get you through all of the easy enemies.
Yeah.
And when you fight the bigger enemies, the vigors aren't much useful. The handymen are some of the worst enemy design I've ever seen. And the fact that I tried all of my vigors on them because I kept thinking, there's got to be a trick. There's got to be something I can do to these guys that makes them easier.
Like with Big Daddies, there was always a kind of go-to option that you had to figure out.
I think there must be, because there's an achievement, and not that achievements mean anything, but there's an achievement for kill a handyman just by shooting it in the heart. And
But that's how you kill them, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, you can still splatter bullets though, and it does bits damage. There must be one vigor that stops them in their tracks or does something, because there is just no way anyone is that good at that game that they can pinpoint that tiny heart while this handyman is running around like a headless chicken. It's just not possible.
Yeah. I mean, you can zap them, but that only freezes them for about half a second.
I'm not that good that I can hit something half a second.
But then does that still count towards the achievement? Because hang on, that would take damage, right?
I don't know. It just felt like I was playing through it on hard and really enjoying it. And then the handyman, I was like, I just kept thinking, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, there's no strategy to them.
Because it is like they just soak up bullets.
Yeah.
And then I got to the boss fight, and then I just thought, this can fuck off. And then from that point onwards, I put it down to medium. And then there was another boss fight, it went down to easy. And for the rest of the game, and for me, that is always the sign of a badly designed game, in terms of like core mechanics of that, is that I don't usually play games on hard, but a good game you play on hard and you enjoy on hard. Bayonetta is just, in my mind, one of the most perfect games ever made, and you can play it on hard and it's great fun because it's perfect. But when you start knocking things down to easy, it's because the combat isn't good. I mean, Mass Effect I played on easy.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well, because I don't think that boss fight should have been in Bioshock Infinite. I don't think any hard fight should have been Bioshock Infinite, because that is not the story it was trying to tell. That is Bayonetta's entire story. It's, here is a game that we want to pose to you as a challenge, and let's see how you can do it. You can still have fun and easy because it's cool and what she does looks good, but that's not what Bioshock Infinite is trying to do.
No.
Not once do the game. So why they felt the need, maybe just to try and extend the game, maybe because maybe developers still feel pressured. We have to put these certain things that people expect in it. But I think they could have had the balls to have gone, no, you can shoot a few guys, but the whole point is progression. The whole point is what's happening with you, Elizabeth. The whole point is Columbia. Take all that in. I don't ever see the need for a video game of that ilk to start thinking about challenge. I don't want to be challenged. I want to enjoy your story.
It's like GTA 4 syndrome. You know, they put out some stats about how few people had actually finished GTA 4. And I'm one of those people. I didn't finish GTA 4 because the missions in that game were flipping horrible.
I did finish it, but there was one mission that was just so hard. I stopped playing for about 6 months.
Yeah.
So-
I was literally throwing a controller around. I've never done that before. I must have failed that mission about 14 times in a row. And no, but I wonder how many people who are kind of like, you know, your mate at the pub who doesn't really play games that much, but you've told him, you play this game, you'll love it. It's a spectacle. It is. It's a hell of a spectacle. It's a wonderful little experience, but that will get about halfway through and think, I don't like this. Like,
Maybe.
people give up on that, because that's the main problem with this, with Bioshock Infinite, is it's top loaded. The intro's lovely, but then really your payoff is the end. And you've got a period of a couple of hours towards the end where you're just working towards it. You feel like you're just doing a graft for it.
Intrigue played a big part. I think for me, I love the opening. I love just walking around Columbia for a while and just seeing what was what. And then it was everything up till, and I won't say what happens there, but everything up till the stuff that happens in Shantytown.
Yeah.
And then it was the intrigue that just dropped me. I was like, I need to know where the hell this is going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I definitely think it's kind of a roller coaster. But I guess with the payoff that they do give you, maybe they felt, again, they needed to offer things that were more conventional to what we're used to. I don't know. I don't know.
I just, throughout it was just the constant tease. It was trying to trick you into thinking one thing was happening and making you feel clever, like, I figured that out. I know what's going on here. And then it's hard for me to say anything without spoiling it.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
We need to do one where we just talk about
but
everything.
it, you
I
know,
need to play the game.
you just lose that, don't you, in the end? It's like, oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing.
It's just that because that.
Yeah,
right.
It's an odd one. It reminded me a lot of Doctor Who, and I loved it for the same reasons, but it did feel like that kind of like...
But Bioshock never had that tease. Like a lot of that stuff in Bioshock, like the whole Andrew Ryan and the would you kindly stuff. Like, you don't pick up on that until right at the very end. Really.
And that was what was awesome about BioShock, is it had no teasing pretension. It was just a game that was really cool, and then it dropped it on you, and you just went, no way.
Exactly.
It came out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Whereas it does feel like the whole of Infinite is going, there's going to be a big twist, but can you guess what it's going to be?
But I still think when that twist happens, and again, I won't say
it's
a
cool.
lot,
It's cool.
But when you then go back and you relive certain things you've done or certain things you've seen, and you do realise that basically Irrational's holding a big finger up to you the whole time saying, you idiot, you can't see what we're doing. And you feel, that's what I love about, same with the original BioShock as well, I feel like the game got the better of me. I feel like I played the game, I bought into what it was telling me, and I got to the end and I thought, you mother son of...
It's brilliant when that happens, though.
But that's the thing, I thought
Absolutely
you tricked me. I'm almost a character within your game that you needed to have in order to get... Because without me, your whole premise doesn't work. And I just think, that's no games do that. No, I don't even think people are smart enough to do that. Let alone actually then go and pull it off. And while I totally agree that maybe Would You Kindly was more shocking, but then again, that's to do with hindsight and things like that. I still, when I got to the end, I still just felt... I just sat there with my jaw open going, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love the journey, but I just think it was flawed in so many different
Yeah,
places,
and that's the funny
so-
thing is, and I've said this in the past, but I think it's quite interesting how in interviews and stuff, Levine has quite regularly kind of subtly kind of pointed the finger about the boss fight in the last bit of BioShock as if to go, well, the man with the suit sort of said we had to make it longer. Whereas I've said this in the past that I've heard from people who interviewed him slightly prior, before the games industry started saying, hey, maybe then the suits made him do that. He was sort of going, yeah, well, actually, maybe we shouldn't have done that. It wasn't a very good idea. And then he, so it's kind of rumoured, it's hinted at throughout the industry and people I've spoken to that he sort of, when people start saying, hey, it was probably the marketing guys that made him do that he was sort of maybe it was, yeah. And,
I remember that meeting happening.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, I suppose that, yeah, I'll just keep quiet and nod a bit. But now it's like, okay, well, here's BioShock Infinite. You've got rid of all those men. You've put your foot down. You've got full creative control. What the fuck is that boss fight about then? It's literally like you haven't got a leg to stand on. It's like, who made you put that in then, Levine? Hey, who made you put that in?
At least it's cooler. The premise is cooler of this
It's
boss
sort
fight,
of cool, but I thought it was terrible, to be honest. I thought it just jumped the gun. I was like, what the hell are you doing? And even actually after finishing it, in the grand scheme of things, that's one bit where I just think, that did not need to be there.
Oh, no, I could have done without it.
And there was another
No
whole
question.
section, actually, towards the end of the game,
Do
which
it
I won't
again.
even mention at all, where there was a whole section which was lasted about 10, 15 minutes. And it was just another bit of spectacle, but it added absolutely nothing to the story. It just didn't need to be there.
I know what you're talking about, and I think we just ignored the boss fight before aside. That was their answer to, we're not going to do a boss fight, we're going to do this. I think in theory it was a good idea, but again, in execution, I'm just like, just finish, let me get through it. And I never want to let me get through it. I mean, that's not something you want to say about anything.
And that was my major problem with it, is I loved it and loved it and loved it, but then I realised about 8 hours in, I just wanted it to end, and I whacked it onto easy, and it felt like I was just chasing a carrot on a stick. Yeah. And it was like, it wasn't even like a case of waiting for anything to surprise me, because I knew there was going to be a surprise. And actually, I think for that reason, as you were saying, Dave, when it happened, I wasn't really blown away by it. I just sort of went, oh, okay. Because I knew it was coming. I knew that I was working for a twist. And
I agree, but I think it's more layered than I was expecting.
It's fucking
and
gorgeous.
The more
though.
I read about it, the more I was like, oh, there's that. As a whole experience, I loved it. But you're right, visually. When you first...
Beautiful.
When
Not
you
on console, it's not.
Right.
No, I played it on 360.
Did you?
Yeah, I think it's pretty enough.
I thought it looked quite horrible on Xbox, to be honest.
Well, maybe it's the art style I like more than, or the art direction I like more. But when you go through that church, when you first, and everyone knows this, right? When you first got to Clamber, the ambience, the music, and the way it looks.
The ambience is
when
amazing.
you walk
The atmosphere
out,
is incredible.
I think
but
it looked good
it's,
enough. I was, but maybe I'm just easily impressed. I don't know.
Technically, I was a little bit underwhelmed by
on
some-
PC, on the top notch and all that, it's stunning. And actually, aesthetically, the whole thing is beautiful. The sound design is incredible in that game. And the visuals, I think it's awesome in many regards, but I just sort of feel like maybe art direction has taken more of a lead in game design, which is always a slippery slope.
Also, that video that plays during the credits.
I don't think I watched the credits.
Did you
Oh, I like
Watch
that.
the credits.
Did
I
you?
went to
Can
the
we
toilet.
talk about that without ruining
Can
things?
we? I don't know. 'Cause
Probably
I didn't
not.
get that sequence in the game anyway.
Well,
I found that very odd.
All the songs hint at the ending. And so that song that they put in there...
the songs hint at the ending.
I can't take... If
I
I
didn't
say the
pick that up at
title,
all.
a smart person will work it out that hasn't played BioShock Infinite.
Right.
But that credits they show, the song title is a hint at the ending. There's a
Right.
part of the game where if you find a guitar, Booker will sit down and play it,
Yeah.
and Elizabeth sings.
And I
cried.
totally
It
didn't
was
get
lovely.
that.
I was like,
It's like in the middle of everyone killing each other, like I'm playing the guitar.
I thought that was really, I was just like, what are you doing? You've spent the past hour telling her we don't have time to do anything, and now you're like,
It's a big
well, we've got
thing,
time for a little sing-song, don't we?
in content, it made no sense. I did like how she
Yeah.
took care of that boy and stuff. I thought that was nice. That sounded weird. She took care of a child that was cowering for food. But you're right. In context, it made no sense. But it was a hint. If you listen to the words,
Right.
it actually tells you. Because at the time, I remember sitting going, "This is a bit weird."
Yeah.
And then when it happened, I was like, "It's another middle finger. You don't know what I'm doing," which
Right.
I love. I
think that's the thing.
Maybe
is
I'm
that
just too thick to,
I really-
to like I don't know.
I did love it, but I think I love it in the same way. Because for me, the thing it reminds me most of, I've said this before, but it reminds me most of Doctor Who in the fact that it's like there are so many really cool things about it that my brain is willing to do backflips to ignore all the stuff that is just terrible. Because Doctor Who, like, I love Doctor Who, and I've been watching it
some of the
for
worst
ages.
episodes
Yeah,
you've
but
ever
some of it is so bad, and yet just because you love the overall arc of the story,
Yeah.
you just go,
Yeah,
it's not that bad. And you talk to people in the pub, and they go, "You're insane. How can you watch that shite?"
The
And you go,
vicar turned into a wasp. Yeah, but the ending of the
but
season
yeah,
was
but
great.
you just watch that episode to see the season arc thing. It's great, and it has that similar thing of there's so much to love there that you want to love it so much that you kind of do. But I think I've trained myself to kind of be aware of that from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So I think Doctor Who's made me better at playing.
Doctor Who has made me a better game player.
better at Bioshock Infinite specifically.
Yeah. Well, but I think the most important thing is, even if you are doing that itself, if you enjoy the experience, good for you. And
Yeah,
that
damn
came
right.
away for
And
Bioshock
definitely
going
play it.
fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Definitely play it,
absolutely
but,
play it. Like it's awesome if you like shooters and stuff. Wow, just play it. It's great. But yeah, I think it's probably good for you to hear this because I think at the end of the day, I went into it tempered with huge expectations. I think if you go in with a kind of like it's going to be great, but it's not perfect, you'll probably enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
And I think it will divide people regardless. I think
Yeah.
no matter how you go into it, it all depends on how you consume your games. If you're someone that does expect shooting and everything to be top dollar and you expect challenge, and I mean, you'll get that on the harder 1999 modes, but I don't think you'll get it in the way you're expecting. Whereas when you get to the end, you may still look back and go, man, that was awesome. It's an
I think a lot of
interesting game.
people don't appreciate good challenge anyway, though. The amount of nutters who just buy crap shooters and play it on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
true.
this isn't fun.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is fun? What's wrong with you?
That's true.
So they'll probably be fine.
They'll absolutely love it.
They'll have a whale of a time. the
But
idiots.
I never want to get stuck on a game. It's just not. I
No.
don't find it fun.
No.
Then it becomes an ordeal.
It's going back to Mass Effect. It's like when I was trying to get people to play Mass Effect, I was like, whack it on easy. Because if you play it on any other difficulty, it's just some of the combat bits are painful. And yet you put it on easy, and you're just a space captain running around with a shotgun, killing everything in one hit,
Yeah.
and it's great fun.
When I play, I mean, it's almost sacrilege, but I play all the Elder Scrolls games on easy because I don't play it for the combat. I like going around, being a badass, chopping people's heads off and enjoying the story.
It's fair enough.
So I whack it on easy. But I understand people that do it the other way, but it's just how I like to consume my games.
Yeah. And that's fine.
That's absolutely
Everything's
fine.
fine. Everything's fine. So has anyone been playing any other games this week, briefly? Any other thing of mentions?
Because of the move, I haven't been able to.
You've been in
keep
transit,
up
I suppose,
a lot,
yeah.
But, I've been playing some Crusader Kings 2, specifically the Game of Thrones mod with
Ah,
the new
yes.
season starting, and you guys are all looking at me quite blankly. I'm guessing you haven't played it.
No,
No,
I know exactly what it is. I don't. I have no clue.
It's a fantastic grand strategy game, and with it, the Game of Thrones mod in particular, it's recreated that world so perfectly. Oh my god, those modders are just unbelievable.
Well, I've played the Game of Thrones board game quite a bit.
Mhm.
Oh god, I feel like I'm
dear.
even in this
We're
circle.
stepping
I
into
feel like I'm
territory
stepping
we
into a
shouldn't
dangerous
be,
zone.
Nerd.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a nerd. But I love that because of the way, especially because when I'm a big fan of the Game of Thrones series. But when you have the map as well, when you actually see,
Oh, you should see
The
it
map.
on Crusader Kings 2. They've done it absolutely spot on. They've been in contact with George R.R. Martin and so true to the books.
it adds context to the books in a way that you kind of understand.
Yeah, you get an understanding of the geography, just like
yeah. And you understand why the houses. Have you guys?
Me and Simon are sitting here like, I don't know.
You don't
what
look
the
like
hell
Thinking
is
about
going on.
flowers. I'm just staring at it going, oh, yeah, I like flowers.
But I love the way that the geography makes the politics make sense because basically, like in Game of Thrones, the idea is these families have all been warring and stabbing each other in the back for a long time,
and having
Yeah.
sex,
and
lots of sex.
loads of sex. It's just like it's basically just tits everywhere. But you look at the map and it makes sense because you look at like...
Well, the sex makes sense.
No, not the sex.
The sex map.
So that's how it happens.
He had sex with her there, then he went to this house. All right.
No, the kind of, you know...
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Like if you control, say, someone in the Riverlands, which is like the center of the map, you just get completely screwed over because everyone is bordering you, and that makes sense with the story because that's where like the majority of the war happens. And just being able to like jump into this mod and playing like the story that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I thoroughly recommend any Game of Thrones fans get into.
I might get
Crusader
on that
Kings
because I've got Crusader Kings 2 on the PC. I might get you to teach me to play it actually because
Yeah.
I tried the tutorials and they just kept crashing.
Yeah, I know what you're saying with me. The tutorials are terrible.
It's unbelievably bad.
There's a big curve to get over, but once you're there,
I
hours.
kind of did that thing with a game of spending about an hour looking at the tutorials and going, okay, and then going, well, you know, I'll just work it out.
Yeah.
Started a game and then like lost within about a minute. I was like, oh no, you're dead now because they've come in and attacked you.
We
And
need
I'm
to
like,
sit down the kite because it isn't that bad once you get there. But I don't want to focus on the Game of Thrones too much just because not everyone will have
I
be familiar with it.
love Game
But
of Thrones.
I've been playing as the Manderleys and just I prefer playing a smaller house and letting the Starks, who are the liege lord. Everyone's still looking quite blank.
No, this is an intriguing look.
But the problem is because like you have to do whatever your kind of liege lord says. The AI is a little bit crazy, as in all grand strategy games, and they will just declare war on everyone, and you just have to follow along and hope that it all goes okay. So it's interesting.
That sounds pretty mad.
It's brilliant.
Because I mean, I like in the board game. I like the fact that you kind of Greyjoy, House Greyjoy, are these.
Oh,
they're like these watery bastards. Basically, they're these evil Vikings that worship sea gods, and basically they spend all their time just going out and like raping and pillaging. And they're just really nasty. But then when you look at the map, you're like, well, they've only got this tiny island and they've got loads of boats.
So it's not so bad.
Well, no, it's like, what else are they going to do? Like,
rape and pillage.
You don't have a lot of options.
It's like, what are they going to do? Where are they going to go? And you kind of end up, especially because on the board game, you're trapped between like two quite big powers. And you don't have any choice but to kind of you have to ally with them both at the start.
Have you been sympathising with the Greyjoys?
No, I do, because you have to ally with both of them. You have to be like, well, I'll be buddies with you and buddies with you, and you keep that up for a little while, but then you realise like, oh, I can't.
Yeah,
you realise there's no way you can get anywhere in the game without stabbing one of them in the back.
Yeah. That's quite cool.
And you end up
nice.
like it's just a case of like just trying to position yourself, waiting for them to be weak, and then boomph. But you end up like naturally doing loads of stuff that happens in the TV shows just because it's like that's the way the map works. And you kind of go, oh, that's why they did that as a... It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it sounds like a very similar experience.
It's pretty awesome.
We'll sit down. We'll do it.
Absolutely. Cool, man. Well, let's jump ahead to Dave's News time.
It's been a relatively quiet week this week with the bank holiday weekend, so there's not that much going
on.
A
load of April Fools.
Oh, God. Yeah. I fell for one of them. But,
really?
Well, I had to double check whether it was an April Fool's joke.
What was it?
Oh, God.
It was the Sledgehammer Games thing. I don't know if you saw it.
No, what was it?
Well, the reason that threw me, because they posted on March 29th, right? A few days before April Fool's Day.
A dick move, really, isn't it? I mean, you're just going to get confused. Why? Stick to April the 1st. Come on, guys.
So they posted up that they'd announced at GDC that they were rebranding to, or at least part of their team was rebranding to Rubber Mallet Games.
And you believe that?
No, hang on. And they were venturing into mobile development, which kind of is believable. That's kind of what a lot of people are doing.
That does kind of make sense, actually.
And a few days before April Fool's, I thought, oh, this could be a legit thing. So I contacted Television and said, is this real or am I an idiot? Yeah, no, it's April Fool's.
I don't like all this April Fool's before April Fool's stuff. That's not fair, man. That's not how the game... And also, people forget midday is the cut-off.
Yeah.
You can't trick me after midday.
I think the other trick with April Fool's that's really important and some people seem to forget is that they have to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not funny, just get lost. And I also don't like the way that people get really cynical about April Fool's and go, oh, great, it's the day when everyone makes news up. It's like, no, it's the day where companies and people of any size and stature get to flex their humour muscles and do something funny.
Yeah.
But there has been a bit of real news and a bit of a talking point, I guess.
I'm not interested in real news now, actually.
No, well, we can stick with fake
April
news if you want.
fake news.
Can you just invent some news for us, Dave?
Well, yeah. Well, I could do if you really want me to.
Let's just invent a new story now.
I've been accused of doing that in the past anyway, so...
You're away.
Ubisoft Toronto, who are doing Splinter Cell Blacklist, they are also working on next year's Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Which is not Black Flag, it is the one that comes after Black Flag.
I just remembered that last night I had a dream, which was me watching live gameplay of Black Flag and thinking, looks a bit ropey, doesn't it?
We did watch live gameplay of Black Flag.
No, but I saw loads of it last night.
Yeah, I
the
thought
whole
you were gonna
game.
Say like I was the pirate or something. Like, come on,
No.
man, you've got really.
No, I was just like a camera floating
just-
above a ship. But it was more like Sid Meier's Pirates.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry
But
on.
no, it's this debate of whether annual Assassin's Creed, do people want it every year? And Ubisoft are claiming, well, yes, they do, because more and more people are buying it every
That's
year.
the thing, isn't it?
But me personally, no, I don't. I'm kind of done with Assassin's Creed now. I feel like they've.
Oh, I'm not. I'm definitely up for Pirates. Anyone else?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Should we get some in?
Ring them up. I'm not a big Assassin's Creed fan. I haven't played any since the first.
Oh, what?
Simply because it burned me so bad.
You need to play 2.
Everyone says that to
Yeah.
me, and like if anyone sort of listened to all the read stuff I've done in the past, they'll know this because like, it comes up a lot. It burned me so bad the first one. I mean, I hated it.
I hated it as well.
And to the point where I just could never, ever, ever get the moxie to go and play a new. I just couldn't do it. Every time I thought, I can't do this. I could not. I started playing it. I thought, I can't do it. So I'm not the biggest Assassin's Creed fan, but I agree with Ubisoft on this. If they keep releasing it every year and people keep buying it, who's the moron that's going to go, you should stop doing this? Well, of course you're not, because you're making money. People got to vote with their wallets if they don't want it. I think a game a year is too much, especially with it's so expansive, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
working. The system is working.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's the same thing with Call of Duty. Like, no offense to the internet, but every year, for as long as I can remember, every time there's been a new Call of Duty coming out, you always get people on Twitter and Facebook going, yeah, well, maybe they should stop making them. Like, they should stop making Call of Duty games
Stop
because
making millions
people don't
of
like them anymore. We're bored of them. Stop making them. And it's like, they're not bored of them, though. Like, they're making so much money. Even like last year, they slipped a little bit, and they're probably going to slip up again a bit this year.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're still making tens of millions of dollars.
The difference for me, though, when it comes to something like Call of Duty, like the campaign is over in 6 hours. It's
Yeah.
relatively short time investment, but then the multiplayer, I feel like I can dip into whenever I just fancy it.
And also, there's a social scene, isn't it? It's like you upgrade.
Yeah.
And actually, I really had an interesting conversation with Savat Yerli last year, where he was talking about next gen, and he said the greatest difficulty with next gen isn't about kind of like getting people to go out and spend money on new tech. It's the fact that the old consoles, it's not a case of just getting rid of it and getting a new one. It's about infrastructure. It's about that online gaming. It's about Xbox Live. And he said the whole problem they have is it's like, you've got to get people to get a new Xbox. But then if they're playing a new Call of Duty on their new Xbox, then they won't do that unless some of their mates are going to as well, because otherwise they won't be able to play with their mates.
Yeah.
And it's like about the kind of social experience being able to carry, rather than having that thing that we used to have where it'd be like, oh, you're still playing on your Mega Drive? I've got a 32X. And it'd be like, well, that doesn't really affect me, so good for you. You know?
I wonder whether, though, when it comes to stuff like that, I mean, obviously the publishers are going to be aware of that risk. I mean, for something like Battlefield, which will use the same engine on both generations, I mean,
It's
could there be
cross-
cross-gen play? I don't know.
I think there will be. I don't see why not. I mean, you'll have that thing of people going, oh, it's not fair because you've got better graphics than me. But you have that on PC anyway, don't you? So it's going to happen, I think, because they'd be mad not to cross the gap. Because I think if they had a new Call of Duty, for example, and then said, oh, yeah, but you can't play with your mates who've got an old Xbox.
Yeah, it's going to scare people off.
Yeah, it means that people won't do it.
Everyone
because-
just buy the old one because they'll know, well, my mates aren't buying a new console, therefore I would just stick with that. I think you have to make it compatible, really, don't you?
Yeah.
You're just shooting yourself in the foot.
But yearly releases, I don't know. In a way, it's like Pokemon games were yearly at one point, right?
Yeah.
Were they?
I think they
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
Were they?
I think I'm pretty sure there was a good period where they iterated them, yeah. And obviously FIFA is the king.
Yeah.
I mean, people buy FIFA just to get the updated teams.
Yeah, but that's it with sports games. I mean, you feel like you're getting part of, you need to update to get the next set of teams, get the next make sure you're up to date with the results. But with games like Assassin's Creed, it's a shame to hear them commit to an annual release. The fact that they have to do it in a year, and I'd like.
Fair, they've got the team size they've got though. Like,
Yeah,
they've got
of
so
course.
many people. They've got to
That's the
keep
thing,
doing something, haven't they?
if we're insulting Assassin's Creed, I don't have a problem with it, if I'm honest. FIFA I buy every year. I love FIFA. The new teams is enough for me. But that probably takes... I know they do stuff for the gameplay as well, but the main reason people buy it is for the updated stuff. I assume that takes a developer a click. Just go, put Van Persie United, new game. So with Assassin's Creed, it must be incredibly hard, because like you say, because they're so expansive and so big, they think, well, we've got to come up with a new story. We need, I guess, 20 hours plus gameplay.
Yeah.
We need more flags to collect. We need all of these things. And that must... so if we're all right for FIFA to do it, we should really be all right with Assassin's Creed too, because they are, and I'm sure they're not, but they're arguably working harder, or at least have to work smarter than the FIFA team, who can kind of, I know that everybody works hard, but who kind of think, well, we'll try defending this year. Oh, it didn't work. We'll try this year.
I get the impression that FIFA is turned around in a 12-month period, whereas Assassin's Creed is it's a 2-month.
That's a good point.
2 years.
2 years.
2 months. It might be a 2-month cycle.
Assassin's Creed Middle East. Where is it? Well, it's just somewhere in the Middle East.
Yeah.
A long time ago, probably.
But still, no, it is the. I feel
Brotherhood,
it's
Revelations,
too much every year.
3. Anyone? Do you think they were rushed? Did they
Revelations, I thought was
Revelations.
I didn't finish
That was-
Revelations, but I didn't like it.
Brotherhood was sick though. Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, both awesome.
Brotherhood was my favourite.
I think if you could merge those two games somehow, it would be one of the best games ever made.
I'm surprised they've moved away from the Assassin's Creed 3 era so soon. I know this is set just before that, so it could tie into it. But
the reason I'm excited about Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, which is kind of a cool name actually, I'll give them that, is because when we saw the presentation for it, there was this really, I've said this before on the podcast, but there's this really tangible air of disdain from the lead dude about Assassin's Creed 3, because obviously they work in kind of like, they don't work in parallel, the teams, and so the team
story's got to somehow link, hasn't it?
Well, not really, because I think they're doing something new.
Oh, yeah.
So the way it works is that while they were making Assassin's Creed 3, these guys were making Assassin's Creed 4, and they have completely different teams and clearly completely different ideologies, because what they're aiming for seems very different. And it's clear that a lot of the team who worked on 2 and Brotherhood are working on 4.
Yeah.
And the team that worked on 3 were different. And it was just wonderful the way that they, I said this before, but I still love it, so it bears repeating, said, we're going to bring in the best features from the series. Assassin's Creed 1, we're going to bring in the realism. Assassin's Creed 2, we're going to bring in the world that you know, it's all connected and you can all buy stuff and it's bigger. And Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, we're going to bring in all of the stuff that refine that and using the game to refine it. Assassin's Creed Revelations, well, that was really pretty. so this game's going to be really pretty. And then he went, Assassin's Creed 3, it's historically accurate. And it's like, you can tell that reading between the lines, this guy who's the lead on the 4 thinks that 3 was pretty rubbish.
What an insulting compliment.
I know.
It's historically accurate.
Well, precisely, it's wonderful. It's like I was laughing out loud at that point in the presentation, because it's just like, this game is probably going to be good, because it's always good when you have a bit of a duff game in the series and the person making the sequel is like, yeah,
time to show you up.
It's going to be different. But I reckon, I mean, it seems like they're making all the right noises with it. And I love the idea of, because I love the villa in Assassin's Creed 2 and the way you could upgrade that, and it felt like your place. And rather than just being like a menu where you buy loads of upgrades, you bought them gradually, but then because you were always going in and out of the villa, you saw the changes. So you felt like this place was gradually getting better.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, and that's something a lot of gamers really mess up now with the whole kind of RPG upgrade system.
Yeah.
But the way they're doing it in this is that that's your boat.
A pirate ship, man. Yeah.
So basically, I love the idea that you're always going to see it because you're going to be sailing around in it. And this idea that throughout the game, your ship is just going to get cooler and cooler and cooler. I'm massively excited. I lost days of my life to Sid Meier's Pirates.
I do think, though, it could be cannibalised by Watch Dogs, though. I think Ubisoft's playing a risky strategy.
They are. I wouldn't be surprised if something weird happens with that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I can't see them delaying Watch Dogs.
I don't know what's going to happen this Christmas, because there's so many games that haven't even been announced yet, I think, that are going to get announced at E3 or closer. And we always have this Christmas shuffle, don't we, of when everyone has their cards on the table, some people go, oh, I'm not going in on this. Yeah. and they bump it back to March or Feb. But I don't know, because it's the next gen and because people are hoping there's going to be this influx of new customers, there's a chance that people might just be like, fuck it, I'm staying in.
Yeah.
It could
go
get
all in. Risk it.
Get really messy, though.
Risk it for a biscuit. Done.
Risk it for a biscuit.
You don't want to do that.
No.
If they just get biscuits, their company's dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
I don't know. I
don't know. I think that's what Square Enix's new CEO was quoted as saying that this morning.
I want biscuits.
That's the translation anyway.
Custard cream soft.
We're gonna risk it for a biscuit and see
what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah. Dunk it. Lick it.
Dunk it, babe. And then he sort of just did a gang sign and walked off stage.
It's a very strange conference, wasn't it? Actually?
It was weird, yeah. I mean, sorry, that's us inventing news again, isn't it? Right, well, we got 2 new people this week, so we're going to jump straight into the question zone. We got some good questions from the forum.
Question zone.
So yeah, I mean, we've had some interesting ones. The main questions here. Let's just jump straight into the quickfire stuff. So Neon Soldier 32 has asked a bunch of quickfire questions
Right,
for you
yeah.
guys. So
Thank
I'm
you,
just going
Neon
to rattle
Soldier.
through these.
Man, I'm already know I'm not going to be able to do it quick fire.
Oh, you will.
This
You
is
love it.
bad. You love it.
Pro tip: just loop the theme from Captain Scarlet in your head, and it'll turn you into a boss.
Right.
Why has nobody made a drum and bass remix of that? And why has the era passed where drum and bass remixes no longer happen?
And why does no one know what Captain Scarlet is anymore?
Life is... I'm getting old. Okay, quick fires for the newbies. Right. Oh, some of these are difficult. What can you bring to VG?
Everything.
Videos,
Okay,
hopefully.
hidden talent.
I can lift a lot of weight. It's not a talent. It's not a talent.
It's not hidden.
Is that not a talent?
I can tell you
There's
can lift a
nothing
lot of
hidden
weight
about
by
that.
looking at you. You look like
I don't
Super
know.
Meat Boy.
I regret massively that's the first thing that came to my head. What does that say? What an asshole I am. Let's move on.
What's your hidden talent?
I can lift a lot of weights, and it is
That's
quite
fair
hidden.
enough. I wouldn't have thought you could lift a lot of weights. Okay, party trick.
I can make a noise like an owl.
That's
Which is
God,
good. Are you ready?
That's
pretty
Oh
cool.
my
That is
God.
pretty good.
I'm not really very popular at parties.
All right.
See, I'm in the centre of the stage doing.
That's
owl-
what people
owl
say
noises.
when their party trick is putting fluorescent pen on their penis and doing a helicopter.
Oh, you came to my last party.
I
didn't
was
you?
there. I was just putting cameras in the walls. Best superhero.
Oh, Batman.
Ooh, yeah, it's gonna have to be Batman as well. I
And
think.
I'm going to completely avoid the whole thing where people say, "Oh, Batman's not actually a superhero," because those people are dicks.
I think I did that
Okay.
once before.
Yeah.
sorry,
But I totally agree with you.
I've done it before, but I'm a dick.
I've never done it. I love Batman.
Batman's
And
the best.
I think he's my hero.
He's so cool. Coffee or tea?
Neither.
T.
Neither.
Or
Controversial.
green tea. Such an asshole.
Oh.
If I was listening to me, I'd be like, this guy's such an asshole.
No one likes me. I lift weights and I drink green tea.
I don't like that guy.
I've got a lot of time for speciality teas. I've
Okay,
been
that's all right
drinking a lot of Rubos.
Oh,
nice.
Get
like
out
it.
of here.
It's got a lovely smell. Best decade for films?
Probably 90s. That's where I started.
Jeez. Oh. Well, I have to kind of say...
You have to choose one. A decade, really. There haven't been that many of them, really. Films only got invented about 100 years ago.
I'm thinking of all my favourite films, and they're all Batman films.
Well, I'm going to jump in on this and say the 80s, just because
I'm going to say 80s, Commando, Predator, all that kind of stuff. 80s.
the thing, you know?
Yeah,
God.
80s.
Best movie twist? No, we're going to skip that one because it's spoilers, even though it says whatever. Favourite game?
Oh, Ocarina of Time.
Final Fantasy 9. Yep.
I love 9. I love
Yeah.
9.
9 is
Better than
controversial.
7.
Dave's face lit up when you said 9.
I was like, I've never met someone who loves Final Fantasy 9. This is amazing.
Never met a girl like you.
Is there a better video game?
Best
character than
RPG ever,
BB?
I think.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my best game. That's a level above
Right.
that.
We're
I
gonna
love
have-
9. I love 9.
We're going to have a meeting after this. I'm not happy. The best RPG ever is, of course, Chrono Trigger. Jesus, guys.
Okay, yeah, all right. You might.
Most anticipated game?
Ooh, GTA 5. I'm very excited about.
Fair play.
That box art, man.
I'm going to say South Park, the game. I'm a massive South Park
Oh,
fan.
enough.
Simon.
Well, no,
What?
that's fair enough because, you know, admittedly, there used to be THQPR for a little while, but that also means he knows more about it
Yeah, I
than
mean,
we do.
to be completely honest and completely on the record, the reason I went to THQ is because I love professional wrestling and I love South Park and I wanted to get as close to those games as possible.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
So, you
fair
know,
enough.
to be completely honest.
Yeah. Do dreams have meaning?
Of course. And live your dreams.
Well, what were you dreaming about before? Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed
gameplay?
4, apparently.
Yeah, that has meaning.
But I mean, some of the dreams I've had have been terrible. At one point, I was just dreaming of Excel spreadsheets, and then I realised I'd need to change my job.
Yeah. So yes.
There you
Yes,
go.
is clear
So yes,
answer.
they do.
Big issue?
No, sorry, I'm going to change it, mate.
Fair enough.
Does it mean as in the big issue?
Yeah,
What's
big
my
issue?
big issue? Yeah, I'll always have a big issue.
All right,
Like the
cool.
homeless.
It's £3, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Free cool.
Do you know what I did once to the big issue someone? I had no idea that the big issue changed prices. So I went to buy a big, I gave him a quid and I walked off and I looked, it was 140. I was like, oh shit, did I go back? No, just get going. Screwed over a homeless person.
My
Screwed over a homeless person.
God. I actually
Forward to my
tried.
place in hell.
Wow, that's.
I never thought those words would be uttered on this podcast.
Screwed over a homeless person.
Wow. Jeez, I
So
don't.
let's move on. Let's move on quick.
Android or iOS?
That's difficult because I've just started mucking around with Android properly for the first time and it's better.
It is
Android.
better, but there aren't any games.
That's, that's exactly right.
iOS, yeah. Games are rubbish. That's why Ouya is just screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's an Android console.
What a
Android.
strange list of games they've released.
The
for
platform.
launch.
Oh yeah, I don't. That's just so
A
dead.
lot of weird names.
It says a lot that they're basically going, "Hey guys, you can emulate on it." And
Yep.
It's like, yeah, I can emulate on anything. I can emulate on a teacup these days. Chipped Xboxes are not the future. PS3 or 360?
360
360.
That's the right answer. Is this a poor time for console gaming?
No.
I think so. No,
I even
It's
squeaked.
exciting.
I was so appalled by the question.
We've got new consoles coming out. It's exciting time.
I know. It's funny, isn't it? People seem to think there's a bad time for games, and it's just like, have you looked out the window? Because there are games everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more that maybe people think it's disappointing because a lot of games are disappointing, but my God, there are so many games.
Yeah.
I remember the N64 period where you had to wait a year for a new game to come out.
Exactly. That doesn't happen anymore.
Me and my brother used to play GoldenEye with our feet because we'd played GoldenEye so much and we'd used all of the custom rule sets you could use, and we'd rinsed it to the extent that
You thought?
we thought, well, the next tangible step is
It's the only option, really.
because it was only one control stick, so you could do buttons with one big toe and then a control stick with the other.
Looked at your whole body and went, yep.
The matches
feet.
took a long time. But that's why like, Perfect Dark was awesome, because it had like so many things you could tweak. It was just like, oh, we're
Yeah.
not going to have to play with our feet.
Yes.
That's great. Anyway, what changes will you be bringing to VG? Oh, these are really big questions.
Well, I mean, good changes. I mean, it's a stupid thing to say, but everything we do will be positive. We want to grow the site. That's the most important thing. And hopefully you'll see them over the next coming weeks and months. And if you don't, drop us a line and we'll try and implement them.
That seems reasonable.
Unfortunately, now as fans, there's going to be a lot less League of Legends
That's fair.
insight. I'm terrible at that game.
You've had a go though,
Yeah,
right?
I've been playing recently, but
I'm quite good at Dota, but yeah, League of Legends. That's now this has got it covered. But
Yeah.
we'll probably grab him at Gamescom. We've said this before, but yeah, we will
talk about League of Legends.
kidnap
Go.
him. We'll kidnap him, which is going to be fun. I love kidnapping people.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Best game of 2012.
XCOM.
Good shout.
My brain's gone blank. What the hell came out last year?
I'll give you a clue. It's either XCOM, The Walking Dead,
I love it.
or what was the other one? It was a really close one between three games. I can't remember what the third one is.
Well, Mass Effect 3 came
Far
out
Cry
last
3
year,
was-
didn't it?
Mass Effect 3, great, good shout.
Mass Effect 3 would be mine.
I've
I
got-
swear I'll be missing something, but I did love Mass Effect 3.
Mass Effect 3 was brilliant. A lot of people hated that, but those people don't have souls. Walking Dead game overrated,
No, it's
I
excellent.
thought it was
unless we're talking about
fantastic.
the Activision
Oh,
one.
Survival Instinct.
In which case, that one is perfectly rated
Yeah.
at about
Yeah.
3 out of 10.
I want to play that. I love bad games.
We've got it.
Oh, I love bad games. I'm so up for playing that game.
Can we get you some sort of like regular video feature where you just play bad games?
I'd probably cry throughout it. I'd be so happy.
We might have to get that rolling.
It's not good viewing, is it?
I don't know. I think it could be good viewing.
That can work, yeah.
I think, yeah, if you'd like to see that, then do let us know.
I will
Post a
do it.
comment on
I'll be
the
They
well
would
up
forum.
like
for
to
it.
see that. I
And
guarantee you.
post on the forum if you want to see that actually, and give us some suggestions of the worst games you can.
Because I'll get
possibly
angry
think
as
of.
well. And that's why I enjoy
I
it.
can finish
breaking it.
inversion with you. It's co-op.
Actually, yeah, Dave has.
You a fan of bad games,
I've
Dave?
got to finish inversion.
Dave
I've still got to
actually
do it.
plays bad games for fun. Dave's got a problem. I've spent a lot of time. I kind of feel like increasingly when I signed up for the job here, I assumed I was going to be a video producer.
Yeah.
But really, I feel like I'm more of a kind of social worker, and I spend a lot of time just trying to get Dave to sort of change his habits.
You
and
give me
just-
some advice on certain
just make himself a
Come
better
on,
person.
Dave, just put the game down. It's all right, man.
It was the point at which I realised that he was going to spend a weekend playing Inversion, and he still had never seen either Willow or The Princess Bride. That I sort of thought, there's something wrong with your life. Dave, have you seen any of those films yet?
No, I did watch Men in Black 3 the other day.
This is what I'm talking about.
I watched Men in Black the other day. What a good film.
But
What
no
a good
shit.
film. I
I didn't
enjoyed
like
it.
it. I didn't
Oh,
like
jeez.
You need to watch The Princess Bride.
All right, I'll try.
I don't know
Is it
how many
on
times I
Netflix?
have to say this to you. I don't know. It might be. It's the sort of film that's
I've
everywhere
got it on
now.
DVD. Just borrow it from me.
All right.
It's a cracker. It'll make you cry. Change your life. Worst developer.
Square Enix for never making a game as good as Final Fantasy 9 again.
Worst developer.
They're a publisher.
There's not really developers. I don't really hate any developers. Whoever made Fusion Frenzy 2, they can go in there. That game is utter guff.
There are. I mean, I'd say. I don't know. Zynga and stuff, but they're more of a pub. I don't even know.
Yeah, see, I put them in there, but I don't get their games. They make no sense to me whatsoever.
It's because they're
I
rubbish.
think
Oh, yeah.
you're in the target market.
No.
Oh no!
Depends on the level, though, right?
duck has found its way onto your farm.
Ring somebody.
like to get your friends to do this?
So in reality, haven't had a very good run, have they?
No, they
Walking
haven't.
Dead, Ghostbusters, Connect Star Wars.
Oh, God.
It's not a very good
do you mess
generation
up,
for them.
How do you mess up Connect Star Wars? Come on.
Pretty
Have you
easily.
not played
It's got
it?
Connect in the
play
name.
it.
Yeah, it's the...
Connect Star Wars was spectacular. That was the point at which I realised that I don't know. Yeah, actually, I used to work at OXM, and one of the things that we were always, actually, a lot of people think with official mags that you kind of like, oh, you're official, you don't tell the truth, you're not allowed to, you're just trying to be, and people genuinely do think there is this agenda and that you have rules about what you can and can't say and can and can't do. And that's not true, actually. All of the reviews I did were completely honest. The only issue we had was we had to be a bit careful about how we talked about Kinect, in the fact that we were able to say this Kinect game is rubbish because it doesn't work.
But you couldn't say
but
Kinect
we kind of were not like told don't do it, but I mean that makes sense because at the end of the day people were buying the official mag because they loved Xbox, and so we were able to point out when there were problems with stuff, but we weren't really just being like, to be honest, if people bought an Xbox mag and we were just kicking the hell out of the Xbox, people would be like, well, this isn't what I came for.
Yeah, I agree.
So that makes sense. However, I can openly say now that Kinect is just fucking rubbish. Like, I played so many Kinect games, and a few of them were really good fun, but a lot of them, I can't wait for the next gen of Kinect because it's got so much potential.
I bought 3 fucking Kinects.
Why?
What's wrong with you, Dave? Why would you do that?
I forgot I'd pre-ordered one.
You need 3 of them.
So I bought one.
You deserve to have 3 Kinects.
And then I bought one for the
You
missus
need 3
as
of them
well.
to make it work. That's the problem.
You sold one of
To-
them,
to
right, then?
Accurately get
I
your
did
movements.
eventually return the other one.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So I paid for 2 in the long
It's
run.
the,
but
it's, the, it's the processing in it doesn't quite work because it's like it needs console power to process properly, and developers were already so squeezed that they're like, we're not going to take away any processing power for this. But I think with next gen, when they're going to have more, and I'm assuming that Microsoft are going to have it integrated so it will have its own onboard memory and all that stuff, I think it's really cool because it has the potential. Like the stuff that PC Mod have done with it, it's just oh my god, this is Minority Report,
when
guys.
they first showed it off at E3 or wherever it was,
That was a
looks
different
incredible.
machine, though, wasn't it? It wasn't what we got.
However, if you do have a Kinect, then I can happily tell you that the 2 games you want to get for it because they are awesome is the Raving Rabbids one.
That is good.
That is, if you've got a big living room, that is amazing fun.
You do need a big living room.
You do
though,
need
don't
for that one. You need a really big living room, but it's brilliant. And there was weirdly Pixar Rush, right? Which is like mini games.
right.
It's brilliant. I really loved it. Most of the games involve you running around, pretending to be a rat, doing hang gliding and stuff. But I had so much fun with it.
Yep.
It's genuinely brilliant. But anyway, best developer. That should be easier.
I'd say Rockstar for consistently making games that I get very excited about.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I'd have to say Rockstar, but BioWare would get a mention as well. I think.
BioWare
And
would get a mention.
And Nintendo, because they always come up with things that. Well, sometimes they come up with things that nobody else.
I thought they were
so-
losing their sheen, but I'm really excited about Luigi's Mansion because that sounds like that's Nintendo back on form.
Again, would I ever have thought about playing Luigi Mansion 2? No. But as soon as I hear what people are saying about it and I read about it, I want to play this game because nobody else could have come up with this.
I made a mistake of playing Luigi's Mansion 1 before Luigi's Mansion 2. And
That's the thing.
I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah,
by
Luigi's Mansion 1 is...
I've only played a little bit of Luigi's Mansion 2, but it's not as good as I was hoping for.
Oh, Dave.
I know.
You hate everything, Dave.
Yeah.
No, that's Steve.
It's
Steve hates
good,
everything.
but it's
Yeah, well, no, yeah. Doesn't
Yeah.
he just...
Anyway, we won't talk about it. I've got to play more of it until I
Yeah,
form a
actually, I'm
proper
going to
opinion.
try and buy it, and we'll
Go and
all
play
play it.
Inversion.
And we'll talk about it
Yeah.
some more. And actually, I've been playing a shed load of Monster Hunter. I might talk about that at some point in the future. We'll see. But yeah, finally, favourite TV drama.
Ooh, I really, really like Breaking Bad at the moment.
It's a good shout.
But there's tons. Game of Thrones has been fantastic. Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy is kind of fun. I found with Sons of Anarchy, I really enjoyed it, but I got told.
Careful.
No, I'm not going
All right.
to do any spoilers, but I enjoyed it, and my girlfriend saw a bit, and she was like, "Oh, this is such a stupid man TV show." She was like, "I'm not watching this. It's just like man rubbish." But
Jack
then I
says
was chatting to a
feelings.
friend of mine, and they were like, "I can't believe you watch Sons of Anarchy. It's like a really girly show because apparently it's just mainly like that main character."
They must have watched very different episodes.
Well, no, because she made a good point. She was like, "Yeah, I love Sons of Anarchy. I can't believe you watch it. It's a proper girly show because a lot of it is just that kind of hunky lead walking around with his shirt off."
Yeah.
And so it's like
Sexy.
I didn't realize it's like Sex in the City for I don't even know with bikers or something.
I think that's a bit harsh.
No, I do like it, but slight spoiler.
Yeah.
But there's a bit in the 3rd season where they go to Ireland, and that is just the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like Ireland is depicted as being a stone shack in the middle of a field,
Yeah, it is.
with everyone going, "Oh, hello there."
Have you ever seen Lizard Lick Towing? It's amazing. It's about a bunch of rednecks who own a towing company, and they all go off and shoot each other when they tow each other's vans away and stuff.
That
It's
sounds
amazing.
fun.
Is it one episode? They all end up dead at the end.
It's like a fly on the wall, but I think a lot of it's scripted.
Is it like Trailer Park Boys?
I've never seen Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park Boys is very funny. It's basically every episode is exactly the same, but if you get over that, it's really funny.
You can forget that you saw the last one.
What's your favourite TV show?
I'm thinking, man, I don't know. I say this in jest before I say this, but I'm going to say Monday Night Raw.
Monday Night Raw. You do love your wrestling, though. It's fair enough.
I do watch. Breaking Bad is awesome. But I don't know. I don't watch a lot of dramas. I just realised I was going through all the big ones. I haven't got around to seeing yet. So
there's some great ones out there.
Yeah. There's loads, and I haven't watched them.
I think Breaking Bad might be my favourite.
Breaking Bad is incredible.
Just because it's like I love The Wire, but Breaking Bad is just so entertaining.
Yeah,
it's really funny. Okay, we've got a couple of quick questions from the Twitter. We've got Daniel Grosset asks, since Blockbuster and HMV are gone and games sucks goats, I quite like that, do you feel that this is the end of high street game shops of the old days?
Well, Blockbusters is back now, right? Somebody bought them and some of the stores are going to stay open.
Yeah, but the guy who bought it, who was that? Like, wasn't it the guy who just messed up Jessup's or something?
It was something to do with some thing that went into
It's one of these things where it's like, well, I've run out of money in this one. Hang on a minute, it's like shaking a penny bank. There's a couple of coins in this.
I do think it's becoming interesting. I mean, where I'm living at the moment, I went to just browse some games there. There was nowhere. The HMV and Game were next to each other. They're both closed. Now, the Game is reopening because obviously they've had an injection of cash, but there was nowhere I could have gone. It even had a sign in the HMV saying your nearest HMV was, I think, 45-minute drive away. So it's not really close. And I don't think I'll ever go anywhere because it just won't. The nature of human beings and what we've come used to in terms of shopping and entertainment and all that kind of stuff, it will stay. But I do think unless they can sort those things out or find a way to be competitive, then I think it would be massively diminished.
It felt like it started disappearing a while ago. I remember about 2 years ago, I had some Game Station credit on a card, and I was like, I want to go to a game station for obvious reasons, and I couldn't find one. It was like the only one I went to was the one in Camden, which used to be where I worked, and that closed down.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, where's the nearest one? And it's like, there isn't one. Like, in the whole of, like, London, you had to go to, like, properly Greater London. It's like, it's mental. Like,
even in terms of looking for a game anywhere now in London, it's a nightmare, really.
There's
no game stores, there's no HMVs.
And I kind of wonder if it's just like the actual shops are never really going to come back in a big way.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's certainly nearing its end. It's going to be a shame, though, because like being a student the last few years, it's been a blessing being able to trade in games, which is something that is going to become harder and harder to do. If you can't go to a brick and mortar store.
I'm hoping, though, that this is it relies on a bit of optimism, but I'm hoping that a lot of people are really anti this whole kind of digital download thing and this kind of idea that games will be locked to your console.
Yeah.
But that's effectively what we've got with Steam, right?
Well,
where like you buy a game on Steam, you can't lend that to anyone. It's your game.
And music as well. Like I remember when everyone went, I'll never do that. Now everybody does it, and a lot of people, I don't know who that was, the impression I just was, but a lot of people...
Well, he was wrong.
Yeah, he was. But a lot of people can't even imagine buying CDs now. Why would I buy a CD? Well, I can just carry it around this airless thing. And I think perception is everything. If that becomes what you do, years will pass, and it will just become what people do, and you'll just accept it.
Yeah.
And when you take away like the difficulties of infrastructure and shipping and shelves, like the prices deals you can do are awesome. Like
exactly.
You can't do a thing with a new release and say, hey, this game's £10 because it's like the number you shift, you won't be able to, the cost of getting them to the shops, and you just can't do it.
Yeah.
Whereas, hopefully if they do go for this whole, you own a game, you can't trade it in, you can't do that. But it also means that maybe you won't be spending 40 quid a pop anymore. Because that feels like those days are awful.
Well, I remember playing 70 games for Super Mario Brothers 2 on the NES.
Oh, yeah, 70 quid,
$69.99 from John Lewis. Cheers, John. So, I mean, things change, and things in Australia, they still pay horrendous amounts of money for games. So if digital downloads do come in, and all of a sudden, think about it right now. If the internet you've got a good enough internet connection, we think I can download that game in a few hours, and it's $19.99, brand new, or you can walk down to Game, which is 45 minutes away or whatever, drop 50 quid. I mean, what are you going to do?
With consoles, the problem is that a lot of the digital prices are still...
that's right.
They correspond with the ones in store, which... So I'm kind of looking forward to like the Xbox Marketplace, PlayStation Network, having more prices online with Steam.
You know what I reckon with that, though? I've got a funny feeling about this. You know how long this generation has lasted? Like 10 years. The next one's going to be the same, I think. The next one's going to be 10 years again. And I think that the reason that the console guys are so rubbish at their online sales prices is because they are towing retail along for one final tug. And I think that they're just going, we are not going to fuck you over, retail. We won't fuck you over digital. We'll keep you in the game. and then as soon as they've had their shop presence, sold their consoles, got their money from that, got their install base, it's going to be like, see you guys, we don't need you anymore. Or by the time we are going to need you again, you're probably not going to be here anyway, so we'll work it out. We'll wing it, you know? And I feel like that's been their strategy for a long time. It feels like they're kind of trying to help them out, but it's like somebody on life support. I wonder if what's going to happen is, if I've been to like, when you go into like central London now, all the places where all the big shops used to be, now it's like these promotional experiences. It's like, hey, it's the Nest Cafe Centre.
The M&M store.
The M&M store. And it's like, they're not really shops. They're basically branding exercises. And I wonder if we're going to get like the Microsoft shop.
Oh, 100%. I would say, that will definitely happen, because, I mean, Microsoft can, lose $1 billion and still have enough money to do that. So why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah.
If Game and HMV do completely vanish or water down to the point where there are like flagship stores across the country, Microsoft go, all we have to do is set up 10 stores.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money, but not to Microsoft, and we can just, they've got partnerships with TVs and everything like that, and it can just be come in and buy your home entertainment set up straight from us.
Or even just like social spaces like Xbox, where it's just like you can just play the new Xbox games in this place, and you can buy them while you're here if you want. But I just think that's kind of what is good. And I'm actually kind of excited by it, because I personally think that shopping is really dull.
I hate it.
I hate shops. I hate going around them. And if we can actually turn high streets into these places where like they're just sort of social spaces.
They have to bring back the service. That's what they have to do to rejuvenate retail.
I think it's too late for that. I mean, it's all very well to have that kind of service chat with someone, but I can go and buy a game for like a tenner and get it delivered next day delivery for free.
No, I know we can, but like the uninformed, for example, like I think they the
unwashed.
The people
you know
I
what I
want to
mean.
talk to.
You know what I mean.
No, I don't know. I think those days, that used
you-
to be the case, but I think that the problem now is because they're not uninformed. And it's the same thing with like music piracy and stuff, how it used to be back in the day, just a couple of us on LimeWire or whatever, getting new tracks.
It's so
and
widespread.
then it became like what everyone did.
That was the problem with it, though. I mean, not wanting to change track too much. The problem now is if I'm picking this number out there, let's say 14.
Yeah.
A lot of 14-year-olds think, well, I love the fact music's is free. They think it's legal. They don't actually, I love the fact, and just go and buy. Why isn't everything like this? You're not supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem as well. You have to educate people.
But I wonder if they are. Because I think with music, they kind of fixed that with Spotify and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely better now.
And I wonder how many kids now even bother with music piracy. Because mostly, hand up, I used to dabble a bit. But it's because it was so expensive. The only option then was like, hey, do you like music? Well, get yourself down to HMV and spend £18 a CD. It's
Get a job whilst you're there, because it's going to be expensive.
And the worst thing about music was like, you had no idea whether or not you're going to like it. I think I got bitten with, I can't remember what it was, but I bought a CD and just thought, this is rubbish. This cost me £20 and it's rubbish.
I see what you mean. I mean, the music I was into as well, you had to order in all your CDs, so it was like 25 quid a pop.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand why people did it. I never did it, mostly because I've always kind of been in bands, and I always used to think, well, imagine someone stole mine. But I get why people did it, though. Don't get me wrong. And that's what you want to stay away from with games. I don't know how people would do that. I mean, obviously, there are ways to do it on with PCs.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it with consoles, but there's a way. People always find a way. They know how to do it. So as long as they can kind of counter that, I'm sure that is a worry for some publishers thinking, what if people start screwing us over massively? But the money they'll save, it's bound to happen. The internet is the real hurdle, because some people still want 56k modem dial-ups.
That's true. Especially, I mean, in like outside of kind of like properly Western built up first world. Like a lot of emerging people, like Brazil, were still like using PS2s for quite a while.
So that's you got to make sure that the option is there. But I think the majority would surely appreciate it in the long run if they could get all these kind of sticking points to shift.
Yeah, definitely. So let's have a look. Chris Williams asked, what's everyone's thoughts on the PS Vita becoming the main console hub for indie games?
Is it?
Is it? No one told me.
No, it's not. It's
I must have missed that one.
PC or iOS devices, which are huge. I think he means that basically Sony have recently been putting a lot of money, well, probably not that much money, into kind of getting some really cool indie games like Hotline Miami and stuff. And they've kind of been like, it's kind of what Sony's strategy is all round, is they've realised that Microsoft took gamers and they took them on a magical Aladdin-esque carpet ride for many years, and while Sony stood around going, God damn it, why did we make so many stupid mistakes? And now that ride is coming to an end because Microsoft have suddenly gone, hey guys, we don't need gamers because we've got Dance Central 3. And we've got, they kind of like, they realise they don't really need us as much because they're doing something different. Their main competitor are Apple now.
Yeah.
And that's, good for them.
I think it's cool that stuff exists on the Vita, or is starting to exist on the Vita. But I think it's always going to, begin on PC, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just the home for it.
PC is the main home, and I don't know. It's
cool. The options there.
I think the
So,
PS Vita
I
is
wouldn't,
in real trouble. Like I
The
think
more
it's
stuff that
cool.
can come to the Vita, the better, because it is a fun handheld. It's struggled with titles.
The Vita feels like
too bloody expensive.
The Vita feels like a goal that's ready to be tapped in, because basically the problem with the original PSP was that it was uninteresting in the extreme until someone worked out how to crack it, and then it was an awesome device which you could watch videos on the go.
Unless they can come up with some really cool way that it works with PS4.
You know what they need
I
to
just
do
can't
with the
see
Vita,
it taking
which
off.
I think is just an absolute easy chips thing, is just start getting good PS2 games, get them licensed.
Yep.
Especially most of them.
Yep.
Talk to Square Enix. They had loads of awesome RPGs. Get them licensed, get them on the PS Store,
Yep.
and basically have legal, paid
agree.
for PS2 emulation. Because you know what? Sooner or later, somebody is going to work out a way to emulate.
Yeah.
They'll crack the Vita, they will emulate PS2 on it, and then they'll start selling those of Vitas, because that's what
That's what
I'd want it
happened to
for.
PSP as well.
That's what happened to PSP.
Yeah.
So they already know that basically people worked out how to crack PS1 games on it, then it sold. And they didn't make any money off the games from that. And they really could have done it. It's a hell of an infrastructure thing to go and get all those games licensed. But
Yeah. They should make it like a paid. I'd pay £5-6 a month to have unlimited access to a store where I could download old games. I'd buy a Vita for that. I'd buy a Vita and I would give them my subscription money straight away, and that would be that.
yeah. And that's why I think what they're doing with PS Plus at the moment is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, PS Plus is amazing.
I mean, if I wasn't games industry and playing all these different games, I'd probably just do that.
Yeah.
Just get a PS3, get PS Plus, and just play the free games that are free.
Yeah.
Because they don't
Genius.
even fob you off with rubbish.
They don't know, absolutely.
It's Mass Effect 3 last month.
It's pretty good.
Gosh. Let's just have one last question. Who got whose seat? Well, Simon got a new seat, which I think was Neon's old seat. I moved into Nellis's seat, and Chris moved into my seat. And then the music stopped.
Yeah.
I'm in Tom's seat, I think, right here.
You are.
Yeah, we shift all the
we
time.
shift. We're like a miasmatic jelly.
I've got one question for Simon, very quick.
no.
Yeah.
And
Go
I've
for
only
it.
just noticed this during the duration of this podcast, right?
What's that massive wart on your head?
Has anyone ever told you sound a bit like Kratos?
No.
Seriously,
But
I'm hearing it in my head.
That
and I'm
is
like,
the greatest. This is the greatest moment of my life. I'm just going to go lie down. I love that, man. I love Kratos. The deepest character in games. Why angry? Because I'm angry. Oh, right. Okay, cool. No one's ever said that. But
not
thank
even
you.
joking.
Till now.
It wasn't a compliment, it was just an
Oh,
observation.
I will take that. I will take that as a compliment.
I'm
And
bashing this mic like I don't know what.
Sorry. It's because you think Kratos is here and you're scared.
I'm
Yeah.
terrified. I'm running
Shiver
now.
in your timber.
I need to shout a bit more, surely, to sound like Kratos.
Oh yeah,
He
but
just
you've
shouts.
definitely got similar tones.
that
I
was
reckon.
brilliant.
Awesome.
That was
Spot
pretty
on.
accurate. Yeah. Arrgh. I really wish I hadn't killed my wife and kids.
That's the character. Best
is.
character in games.
Thank you. I really felt like I was
character in
channeling
games.
it, you know. Just get it out there. Finally, Phil Reynolds asks, which newbie would win in a jelly and custard fight to the death?
Jelly and
I think there's a
Isn't that like
clear choice
that
here.
sounds like a sexy thing.
To the
Oh,
death?
A sexy thing's the wrong word, but like
Sexy death fight.
I'm not going to bed with you.
No, I don't know. If you're gonna have a fight to the death, why? What do you do with a jelly? Are you
I
naked
think,
in
I
jelly?
think
and
that's the
custard?
thing.
No.
Like, if it's a jelly and custard
It's
fight,
just
that
more of
sounds
an
quite
obstacle,
fun.
really, isn't it?
But really, if it's jelly and custard fight to the death, I'm assuming that sooner or later you're going to give up with the jelly and custard and basically just.
Stab someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. It's going to end up being a hand-to-hand brawl that involves jelly and custard.
Well,
As a man,
this
this
isn't
never-
a fair fight. Can I have some kind of weapon?
I was going to say, like, basically, I mean, it sounds like your only weapon here would be jelly and custard.
Oh,
in
God.
which case,
I don't know
no
what to do
offense,
with
Chris,
that.
but I think you're dead.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Simon could quite easily kill all three of us if he wanted to.
Yeah. What a strange. I mean, I liked it, but what a strange question.
It is a strange
Where
question.
does that come from?
I've got a lot of time for strange
No,
questions.
always.
It gets
I
worse
liked
than
it.
this, trust me.
It
Worse
does.
than
It does
this.
get weirder. But I think that's about it for this week's podcast. So thank you very much as ever. Oh, no, it isn't.
Oh,
It isn't?
It isn't, because finally we have one last thing that we must do. And it's a slightly stretched episode of the podcast. We have the competition winner. Because, of course, we had the Member of the Month competition.
Yes.
Those of you who are not familiar to the podcast and the website, every month we have Member of the Month. Now, we have 3 games, which are provided by shop2.net, and basically you can have any game you want if you win. You know, as long as it's
Up
on
to
the
the
website.
value of £50.
Up to the value of £50, which these days is pretty much anything you want. Let's be reasonable.
prize.
But there's 3 ways you can win a game every month. One is we have a member of the month where everyone on the forum votes for who they think the funniest or coolest person on the forum is. That person wins one. And also everyone who votes gets put into the draw, and one of them wins just for voting. So if you haven't done already, you might as well sign up for the forum and do that, because, hey, free games are free. And games are games.
Who doesn't want that?
Free games are free. Breaking news.
Breaking news updates. But we had a separate thing, obviously, for the third part of the competition. We like to add a bit of a degree of skill, and we make up something every month. And this month's competition was basically invent a Zerg in MS Paint. If you haven't seen that on the forum, some of the
I did watch that the other day.
Some of them were excellent.
Laugh quite a bit.
I made a Tony Hart style gallery video about it, which if you haven't seen, you might
Definitely
quite
worth
enjoy.
watching.
But yeah, I've got some winners. And we love the selection from this so much that we actually got some special editions of StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm as well that we're giving. So there's actually 4 winners.
Wow.
And the first prize winner, if they want, will get to choose a game of their choice, but the other 3 people will get, to be fair, a very impressive collector's edition.
And probably worth more than £50.
Probably worth more than £50. So actually, the way it'll work is if the first prize winner wants that instead, then the free game goes to second prize,
etc., etc. We'll work it out.
Anyway, I must say I'll lead from the bottom. So actually, the 3 runners-up, which we all win prizes, which I loved, was Van Riel with a bumling, which was just a Zergling with a big bum. Yeah. And I really, really liked it. There was something about the simplicity of the drawing that every time I see it, it makes me laugh a lot, like way more than it should. But that was excellent. I love that. For slightly different reasons, second winner was Jen Penn with our aggravation Zerg, just because the level of artistic skill and thought that went into it is quite good. But this was a Zergling that basically would crawl out of a hole in the ground and sneak itself underneath your foot. And basically, it's like getting poo on your shoe.
Right. It's frustrating, really.
Basically, just the idea that it would then distract Marines because they're like, oh, what's this on my feet?
Awful.
But, and the third winner was Marink with, I like this a lot. For 2 reasons. It's Zergai the Meerkat.
Very good.
And I like it because it's a lovely pun. But also, the drawing he's done of a meerkat with claws in MS Paint is both cool and also it's quite frightening. It's something about it that is actually genuinely, have a look.
I don't like that at all.
It's genuinely a little bit frightening.
I do like it, but I don't like it.
Precisely. And I thought that was well worthy. A couple of mentions that runners-up that don't win prizes, but I really, really liked was I loved Mr. Hubo's Zergonomic Mouse Mat. That made me laugh a lot. And I also liked Frosty Sphincter's Hindenzerg, which was basically a blimp.
Frosty Sphincter.
It's a great name.
Brilliant.
But I think
or
the grand
a horrible
winner...
condition.
The grand winner is a joint winner, actually, and they're going to have to work it out amongst themselves. But the big winner this week is Altaranga and Miniranga, because Altaranga had some awesome, some really, really good... I enjoyed his Zergling Shake, which was sort of a make take of Harlem Shake, and he also did some other ones. He did a bunch, basically, and all of them were really, really good. But then actually, his son had seen him doing them on the forum, and he was like, what are you doing, Dad? Because he'd basically been drawing all of these rubbish MSN Paint things for this competition. And his younger son was obviously like, what is this? And he was like, trying to explain it. And his son liked the idea so much that he started drawing them in crayons. And they're actually pretty good. Like, they're actually like better than some of the things that we've been making. But I thought that the drawings he'd done
not
were
hard, though,
I thought they were really sweet. And I thought they were actually really quite cool monster designs. So... that's the first prize.
Congratulations.
So congratulations to both of you.
Well
you can
done.
choose to either buy your son a game or keep it for yourself and never tell him. Because both were worthy winners. But we will announce, actually we haven't done the thing, but we will announce the winners of the Member of the Month stuff on the forum, because I have forgotten to tot them up because Matt and Ellis has disappeared to Germany, and to be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing. But we'll have a new competition next week for next month's Member of the Month, and it's got to that point where I really just can't speak. So we're going to wrap this podcast up. I've been Matt Lees for the Video Gamer UK podcast. Thank you guys ever for listening. If you have enjoyed it, then subscribe on the iTunes and look at the website, blah 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 blah. I've been joined by our new editor Simon Miller,
Pleasure.
David Scammell,
hello,
and Chris Bratt.
Thanks for having me.